Beautiful. Hello, welcome to the Astrology of March. Tonight we're going to dig into some really juicy transits. The list is quite long. We're going to try to still keep it tight. So, we'll see we'll see how much I riff. Um, the astrology of this month is this frequency of really landing in what's next. This solar eclipse in Aquarius on February 17th really opened a gateway to a new frequency, to a new timeline. We can look around and we can see it in the news, and what we can see is the way that this has actually been building for quite some time, but the revelation of it is past this threshold. It's this kind of like bright, almost like blowing out like all the details of our vision of like as we adjust to this new light, ascending from like the Plato, like Plato's allegory of the cave, ascending out of the cave like into that like brightness of like, oh my God, that's what's there. How do we reckon with that? Here we are navigating that awakening to this truth all together in all of our unique perspectives and all of our unique ways. And so we really see this play out over the course of the month where we are nurturing our nervous system, where we're taking care of ourselves, where we're putting like our mask on before we help our neighbor with theirs. And as we kind of glide through, um, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat, and we'll do Q&A after for the folks who are on live. Okay, beautiful. Let's get started. So the month opens. It's March 1st, 2026, by the way, when we're doing this recording. So tomorrow, Mars enters Pisces. And when Mars enters Pisces, there are literally so many planets in uh, Pisces that it's insane. Um, Mars enters, joining this deluge of planets to bring direction to our dreaming. Just before the eclipse, just one day prior, we get a cosmic nudge as it opposes the moon. So when Mars enters Pisces, the moon is at 2 degrees Virgo. So it forms this really tight opposition as the moon moves closer and closer to being in orb for this eclipse. And so, what I really felt when I noticed this is the way, like, we are going to be getting divine directives, divine direction in this time. It's really an important time to anchor into your intuition. Go with what feels true, go with what feels real, go with what feels right. And following this spark of your intuition and inspiration as well. I mean, Pisces is the dreamer, right? This is about really honing in your vision, especially on the other side of this lunar eclipse in Virgo. That's on March 3rd, and we'll talk about that in a second. This is really a time to let yourself dream. This isn't necessarily like you must take really specific action. Mars in Pisces is not um, super activated in the waking world in the way that some Mars acts in some of the other signs of the zodiac, right? Like Mars in Pisces is about like the long term goals, the bird's eye view version of the plan, the the whole rather than the micro. Um, but in this way, this zoomed out perspective of seeing our place in this collective, it's also a time to embrace aligned action, to like navigate closer to this version of reality that we want to be living within. And that gives way into this lunar eclipse in Virgo. This is a time where the divine are listening. Unyielding devotion does not go unnoticed. Offerings are embraced, and prayers are received and answered. And so the opportunity here, I mean, I spoke a little bit about this in today's post, up on inner orbit. This is a time to cultivate an energetic offering, um, in this window. Like, even, and I say this in, Unfurl, and I believe I even say this in the meditation, that is available for free. Um, Even if you're watching this replay, like deep in the wake of this lunation, I feel like the guided meditation in my lunar eclipse in Virgo post is actually so valuable, for the year, especially through the eclipse season, that ends in September. There's this real opportunity to direct focus to what you're really ready to release, to cultivate this awareness of what's coming up for release in your being, in your body, in your life, in your patterns, in your life story that you're really ready to place upon the altar. And so there's a guided practice for free up on Inner Orbit now. Um, but this is also about tending your temple, inner and outer, embodying the devotee, the priestess in the temple, the initiate in the temple. And it's a time of honoring the goddess. And I spoke to this more deeply too in the, post on the lunar eclipse in Virgo, but this is a time where re-engaging our devotion to the divine feminine in harmony and balance and reciprocity with the divine masculine is more important than ever. We've been living in a severely patriarchal age, and the result has harmed everybody. The result is imbalance. And cultivating this, what's called heterarchy, it requires embracing, re-embracing the divine feminine in a deep way. And yeah, I share a recommendation slash resource on that in the blog. It's called The Woman with the Alabaster Jar. That's specifically about Mary Magdalene and Jesus as divine feminine, divine masculine. But we really can recognize that it's what's called consort in a cross pantheon way. Persephone and Hades, you know, on and on and on. Um, Even Zeus and Hera, on and on and on. And so, in the way that really resonates for you, connecting to this space of embodying this energy of the divine feminine as critical in the shaping of our future culture. Um, yeah. And this lunation is ruled by Mercury. Virgo is a Mercury ruled sign. So the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury retrograde in Pisces. And during the eclipse, Mercury is actually conjunct the sun. This is what's called cazimi. It literally means in the heart of the sun. And so when Mercury is spending time in the heart of the sun, that is when it's ruling this eclipse. So Mercury would have been ruling this eclipse no matter where Mercury was in the zodiac, right? But the fact that Mercury is actually conjunct the sun that's shining its light. Oh, I just hit my mic. Shining its light onto the moon at the time of the eclipse, it's critical. It completely transforms the lunation. This is a time of deep reflection, and we get to integrate this eclipse with the help of that Mercury cazimi in Pisces for a full week following. Um, that does mean that the effects of this lunation might, um, continue to break like waves on the shore, right? Um, So this is active from March 3rd to March 10th, but it peaks on March 7th, which is 4 days after the eclipse. Um, so this is a time to be aware of your word, to really think about what you're saying and say what you mean. It's a time of deep reflection, revisioning, contextualizing compassion, understanding the other side from a solutionary mindset. It's also a time of divine magic, high magic. So as we close that lunar eclipse, stepping back into that recalibrated version of yourself that's ready to name exactly what you want. And maybe we let this transit close, Mercury, Cazimi, and Pisces, before we get super hyper specific. Maybe past that March 7th is really when we get more specific in our scripting, specific in our manifestations, rather than this openness that eclipse season tends to require from us. Um, this is also a time to resist temptation to be drawn back into the past. And if you must sign contracts, there's a lot of hubbub about Mercury retrograde in general. But especially during this period, if you must sign a contract during March 3rd to March 10th, make sure you practice diligence and discretion. There's more likely to be an error. There's more likely to be an unexpected cost, something that you didn't quite catch on to that just rubs you the wrong way. Um, Always, the opportunity is to like reread, revisit, ask for time to think about it, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you're looking at someone who signed her first book deal during Mercury retrograde. So, I think that sometimes there's a gift available in signing a contract in Mercury retrograde. I think that there's also a responsibility required. Um, yeah. Venus in Aries is going to be active from March 6th through March 30th, so the bulk of the month. And here, when Venus enters Aries, she comes conjunct with Saturn and Neptune, who are still dancing with each other in the early degrees of Aries. So Venus will be conjunct Saturn through March 13th and conjunct Neptune through March 12th. This is a time of self-love mastery, the way that we can love others more when we love ourselves first. Again, this energy of like putting your mask on before helping your neighbors, making sure that you are taken care of. Because ultimately, I mean, there's only so much that we can do for other people if they're not also dedicated to pouring energy into themselves. And one of the best ways that we can lead in this time is by example. So there's an opportunity to model what it looks like to regulate, model what it looks like to evolve on a personal level, model what it looks like to show up, model what it looks like to love yourself truly and engage with the world from that space. So the opportunity here is mirror work. And if you're unfamiliar, this is like gazing at yourself in the mirror, either in the eyes or like sweeping, like just being intentional about where you're gazing. Are you making eye contact with yourself? Are you appreciating your features? Are you taking a soft gaze and entering a more like divinatory state? Like whatever you're doing, being intentional about it and just offering so much love and coming a little bit into, if you struggle with like derealization or depersonalization, I don't necessarily recommend like the next part of what I'm going to say, but if you don't struggle with that, what I do recommend is seeing yourself from the perspective of like someone who loves you so, 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 so much. Like you're the most cherished thing that you've ever laid eyes on. And offering that pure divine love to yourself. And through this visual connection with yourself in the mirror, offering it to every cell of your being. This is a time for self-love, magnetism, and glamour magic. And glamour magic isn't just beauty magic. Glamour magic is about it's shape shifting magic. We'll do something on glamour magic someday. I've been saying that for like 6 years and I never have, but we've got to get into it. Um, Write a love letter to yourself from your highest self. And treat yourself. We're rewatching Parks and Rec, so I had to throw it in there. Then Jupiter is going to go direct in Cancer. It went retrograde on November 11th of last year, and it stations direct on March 10th. And it engages the last stretch of Jupiter in Cancer before this planetary giant enters Leo on June 30th. So Jupiter retrograde has had us recenter our gravity, recenter our boundaries, recenter our limits, recenter ourselves in this energy of emotional and energetic protection. Coming into this time where we know what's sacred. We have a distinct sense of what we will and will not stand for on the other side of this Jupiter retrograde. And now that when Jupiter stations direct March 10th, we're re-engaging our expansion. So we had this moment of like pulling back into ourselves, looking at what's happened through this lens of expansion, seeing what we see, re-engaging our boundaries from that space of being pulled back. And now it's time to like take up more space. Now it's time to like continue this expansion, bring ourselves into a higher and higher and higher octave of being. Um, so this is a time, especially, I mean, honestly, this first thing is something you can do now. Um, Reflect on Jupiter's journey through Cancer since June 2025. What's been alive for you? If you want a free resource on Jupiter and Cancer, let me know. Me and a few other astrologers did a round table. It's free for Jupiter and Cancer, and I can drop the link in the show notes on that. It's also time to update your protection and transmutation wards on the other side of March 10th. I don't know if you want to align it like astrologically with another date. Like we'll have the new moon, which we'll talk about soon, coming up on the 18th. I don't know if you want to do it there, but on the other side of March 10th, updating those wards. And if you don't know what a ward is, this is just some kind of something you've got going on your altar, at your door, even just like in your intentions, in your scripts, in your journals. Um, this layer of protection that you offer what you deem sacred. So I often have like I do a lot of bowl and container magic. So I've got jars, grain bowls, I've got stuff in the freezer. Um, it's time to refresh those. Transmutation protection wards are to protect your energy, protect what's sacred. Transmutation wards take that a step further and they transmute any negative energy directed at you, your well-being, your life, whatever the case may be, and transmutes it into something else. Um, and it's a time to reaffirm boundaries. I think I said that already, though. So then we have the new moon in Pisces, which effectively closes the eclipse gateway. However, um, this year feels really active with the nodal journey. So although this first eclipse season will be closing, it's like there are just things that continue to dole out the frequency of closing this down. Um, so it closes the eclipse gateway for sure, but because the nodes changing sign in July, and then we have eclipses in August. The thread is like more alive than usual from my perspective. And this new moon reminds us of the way that a new beginning is also an ending. Um, and so I think there's a way to like celebrate that in some way, honor that at the very least in some way. I'm like, the next word is rehydrating. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so thirsty. One moment. So, this is a time of rehydrating your dream seeds. What dreams have come to you over the last, I would say, especially month, like looking back from that solar eclipse on the February 17th, um, but also like the last like year and a half, like what dreams came online for you and then got like shelved or put on the back burner or have just reached a stagnation point or just maybe not stagnation, but like a softer word than plateau. I don't know. Coasting. Dreams that are just coasting in maintenance mode. Now it's coming time to wake them up. Wake them up with this like warming of the earth. Um, Here in the northern hemisphere, we're headed into Astara at this point, right? So we're rehydrating these dream seeds to come to fruition. Um, it's a moon that also offers clarity and vision. I would do some divination. I would do some scripting. I'm recommending flow, cry, dance, sing, write, create. Let yourself be water however you can. Be with water. Go see it. Go swim in it. Go get intentional when you're in the bath or when you're in the shower, being with the frequency of water. And then reflecting on your journey since January 2025 and honor your dreams come true. What was a dream a year and a half ago? I mean, not a year and a half, a year and a quarter ago. What in your life right now was a dream this time last year? And how can you celebrate that right here, right now on this moon? So by right here, right now, I mean March 18th, 2026 at 21:23 Eastern. Sun in Aries, which also marks Astara, which we'll talk about on the next slide. So the sun's going to be in Aries from March 20th through April 19th, 2026. And when the sun enters Aries, it's conjunct both Saturn and Neptune, just like Venus before it. Saturn It's conjunct Saturn through April 2nd and Neptune through March 26th. This is a time of rebirth and renewal. It's initiatory and invigorating. It's inspirational. It it evokes something from you. It evokes a response in you. Aries is Mars ruled, and Mars is an instigator. The glyph for Mars is literally like a circle with an arrow on it. It just goes around the zodiac, poking, 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 instigating, instigating, instigating to evoke a divine reaction from us. And so, in this way, it's this when planets are in Aries, something is awakening, something is stirring, something is evoked from us. And in this way, it's activating the spiritual warrior. Get clear on what your hero's journey truly is. I can't remember when I was saying this. Maybe it was in Unfurl, the way that we each, or maybe it was like earlier on this call. I can't remember. I'm going to say it again. Everyone's role looks different. I think it was earlier on this call. Everyone's role looks different. Our hero's journey, our life mission, our soul purpose is unique. Even the people who were born on the same day as us, it's unique. Um, Getting clear on what your role is and what you can do to protect your nervous system to be able to accomplish that, it's vital in these times. And the sun in Aries is probably going to shed light on a clear way to serve yourself in that way. It's also a time to create, move your body, name the ways that you take care of yourself so that you can take care of others. Name the ways you wish you were taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others. And this first day of Aries season is Astara, the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere. So the cardinal signs initiate a new season. Aries, spring, Cancer, summer, Libra, fall, Capricorn, winter. These are the equinoxes, the solstices, right? These cardinal signs. And so here on March 20th, 2026, we sit on the threshold of Astara. This is the time Persephone, my main girl, journeys into the upper world, Hecate at her side. And in this way, vitality is restored to the earth. It's a goddess rising. There's also like a bittersweetness in the spring, as we say goodbye to the cave, the cozy cave of winter. There's a there it's exciting, and following this thread of the myth of Persephone, there is also this longing to be like it remain in connection to the underworld of ourselves, right? And we get to do that. We get to actually embody that if we so choose. In the way that we continue to do our shadow work, in the way that we continue to stay connected to our inner presence and our inner peace and our quiet worlds within, even as we burst forth with new life in the upper world. So the opportunity here is to honor the goddess however she flows through you. I always love working with Persephone, all of the time. But honoring the goddess is a big thread for this year. Um, in general. But on Astara, it's always this way. Yes, like honoring this, like the divine feminine frequency of fertility, however you want that fertility to look for you, whether that truly is biological or whether this is about the energetic nature of breathing life into something, of creating something from seemingly nothing. It's a time to make seasonal offerings, flirt with the flowers, get your hands in some dirt, soak up and bask in the sun or solar energy. As I was writing this, I was like, oh, what if it's a cloudy day? Calling in that solar energy, working with citrine, feeling that inner sun, working with the flame. And you can also join me for Bloom. So for our paid subscribers this month in Inner Orbit, we're doing a little virtual retreat. So we're going to have journal prompts, we're going to have energy work, and we're going to dive into the story of the goddesses that are coming through for Astara. And so in this way, if you join live, I feel like there's more of an opportunity to really be received in community. But the way that we'll do the energy work is so that even if you're watching the replay, it's something you can still engage with. So I'm so excited. This is my favorite magical holiday of the year, and I simply can't wait. And it's also a day of celebration because the Mercury will station direct. Spoiler alert, that's what the next slide is. So Mercury is going to station direct on Astara. Woohoo! Mercury has been retrograde since February 26th. So with newfound footing, truths are brought to shore from your journeying. You've been like rushed back into reflection, and we're now coming to shore with new understandings, new gifts. Progress starts to become a bit more evident. If you felt stagnated in any way, or thrown back into the past in any way, or feeling like you're just floating like a little buoy in the ocean, we start to feel like we're getting somewhere. We start to feel like we're really truly noticing some evidence and or reward of all that we've done so far in our journey of our lives, but especially in the journey of this year so far. And miracles abound. This is a day to really like open yourself to the blessings that are ready for you to be ready to receive them. And that's one thing we'll work with in Bloom as well. So the opportunity here is to reflect on what became clear and what became foggy during Mercury retrograde. Some things fully land, some things fully crystallize, and some things obscure. And with each piece that you notice, what do you think that means? I mean, you are your greatest source of intuition. So I'm not going to say, like, here's what it means when it's foggy, and here's what it means when it's clear. But, like, ask yourself, like, enter this state, name something that became clear. What does it mean that it became clear during Mercury retrograde? And go with what flows. Like, go with your gut instinct there. Something got unclear. What does that mean? Because circumstantially and situationally, it could mean different things. But really kind of being with that on this date and even like forward, you don't have to do it as a practice on March 20th for it to be potent. But in that moment of Mercury kind of like finally like digging its heels in to kind of start its forward journey again, that can be a really fertile time to do that kind of reflection. And then bask in that revelation, celebrate a completion. And again, honor the goddess. Find a way to make an energetic offering, again, returning to that meditation if you wanted to, or simply like updating your altar, updating an offering bowl, whatever way resonates for you. And then closing out the month, we're turning our gaze toward Venus. Um, Venus is conjunct Chiron in Aries from March 21st through March 30th, peaking on March 26th. So just before she enters Taurus, she conjoins Chiron, the wounded healer. Chiron is an asteroid that shows us our healing journey, what we came here to experience, activations around what we came here to heal. And Venus conjunct Chiron in Aries looks like for everyone healing activations for the core wound of the self and of incarnation. You can look at where Aries falls in your chart to add another layer, which is what house Aries rules. So, for example, I'm a Virgo rising, so Aries rules my eighth house. So, in addition to this core wound of the self of incarnation, I'm also adding in this layer of like universal support, mutual investment, the shadow, right? The intensity, because that's what the eighth house rules. If you have questions about that, let me know. Chiron has been in Aries since 2018, and later this year, it enters Taurus for the first time. So, this Venus conjunction offering this healing energy and then moving into Taurus kind of paves the way for Chiron later in the year, was how I felt when I was gazing at this chart earlier. So the opportunity here is plan an ideal day for yourself to match your budget, but make it feel like luxury. This reminder that luxury can actually be super inexpensive as long as it still feels luxurious to you. Um, because this is one of the most uh accessible ways to affirm that you're worthy of divine love. So just find a day. It doesn't have to be in this date range even, but if it was, that would be amazing. Find a day to set aside and just do exactly what you feel like doing. Um, if you know you're the type that like you want to go get your nails done, or you want to go to the spa, or you want to go ahead and make sure that you have face masks on deck, or whatever the story is, you're gonna want to have that one kind of hot chocolate, or like whatever the case may be, but like really following your bliss and saying yes to your self-care impulses. Um, and this is another day to be with that mirror work. And I also had using rose water, whether that's like cleansing the mirror with rose water, spritzing rose water on your face, on your heart, really like using that. Rose is, I feel like rose and rose quartz often get like a little, I think like forgotten about is not the right word, but like bypassed or overlooked because they're so common. So they're so abundant, they're so popularized. But both roses and rose quartz is like some of the highest vibrational love frequency that we have access to on Earth. It's the highest vibrational flower and the highest vibrational love stone. So working with this in this time could be really beautiful, and heart healing. And then the final transit of the month that we're covering tonight is Venus entering Taurus. She'll be at home in Taurus from March 30th through April 24th of this year. So this is a time to get cozy but stay active, um, to make your home feel like the best it's ever felt, and to care for your body in this way of aligned movement, delicious foods, nutrifying foods, making it this really functional yet beautiful spiritual space for yourself. It also amplifies self love practice into a holistic embodied state. So, off the back end of that Chiron conjunction, where we're doing this self love practice, we're now bringing this into the body more, where this in Aries, it was maybe more conceptual, emotive, maybe a little bit more about like the surface self-care. This is bringing it into like the realm of the body, into the actual flesh of our bodies. This is about basking in a steady love, nourishing your body with beautiful, delicious foods, sinking into luxurious slowness and like moving from this very slow, sensual space, engaging your musculature, bringing yourself. I'm seeing this just like this like slow, sensual dancing through this time being really powerful, melting your muscles in deep stretches, really vitalizing yourself with that like blood flow of Venus and Taurus, right? Is really what I'm seeing. So to stay woven this month, I'm now booking March one-on-one sessions. So in additional to being an astrologer and doing personal astrological readings and forecasting, I also offer oracle readings, energy healing, and mentorship. And this is for spiritual entrepreneurs or just folks on your spiritual journey, on your path with witchcraft, with astrology. I'm here for it all. And then you can also unlock our paid gatherings or join a la carte. So our next paid gathering is Bloom on Friday, March 20th. And so you can either join us a la carte for 22 or upgrade your Substack subscription, which is just $8 a month. So before we close down, I just want to say this month is really a culmination, celebration, and honoring of the intensity of February. What a month. I mean, it was incredibly activating on global scale, micro and macro. And so March is really about this energy of rehydration. And I'm so excited to continue to weave together and be here for one another, uplifting one another through these times. I'm going to stop the recording.